Hello guys, a very good morning to all of you. Today we are going to read 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene from Law 37. Okay, so from this in this video we are going to read 37, 38, 39 and 40. So there are 4 laws in this video and other 8 laws will be covered in the upcoming next 2 videos. Law 37. Create compelling spectacles, judgment, striking imagery and grana symbolic gestures create the aura of power. Everyone responds to them. Stage spectacles for those around you, then full of arresting visuals and radiant symbols that heighten your presence. Dazzled by appearances, no one will notice what you are really doing. Keys to power. Using words to plead your case is risky business. Words are dangerous instruments and often go astray. The words people use to pursue us virtually invite us to reflect on them with words of our own. We mull them over and often end up believing the opposite of what they say. That is part of our perverse nature. Perverse nature. It also happens that words offend us, stirring up associations you unintended by the speaker. The visual, on the other hand, short circuits the labyrinth of words. It strikes with an emotional power and immediately that leave no gaps for reflection and doubt. Like music, it leaps right over rational, reasonable thoughts. Understand, words put you on the defensive. If you have to explain yourself, your power is already in question. Words put you on the defensive. If you have to explain yourself, your power is already in question. The image, on the other hand, imposes itself as a given. It discourages questions, creates forces, forceful associations, resists unintended interpretations, communicates instantly, and forges bonds that transcend social differences. Words stir up arguments and divisions, images bring people together. They are the quintessential instruments of power. The symbol has the same force whether it is a visual or a verbal description of something visual. The words, the Sun King, the symbolic object stands for something else, something abstract. The abstract concept, purity, patriotism, courage, love, is full of emotional and powerful associations. The Roman Emperor Constantine worshipped the sun as a god for most of his life. One day, though, he looked up at the sun and saw a cross superimposed on it. The vision of the cross over the sun proved to him the ascendancy of the new religion, and he converted not just himself but the whole Roman Empire to Christianity. Soon thereafter, all the preaching and proselytizing all the preaching and proselytizing in the world could not have been as powerful. Find and associate yourself with the images and symbols that will communicate in this immediate way today, and you will have untold power. Most effective of all is a new combination, a fusion of images and symbols that have not been seen together before, but that through their association clearly demonstrate your new idea, message, religion. The creation of new images and symbols out of old ones is in this way has a poetic effect. Viewers' associations run rampant, giving them a sense of participation. Use the power of symbols as a way to rally, animate, and unite your troops or team. During the rebellion against the French crown in 1648, those loyal to the king disparaged the rebels by comparing them to the slingshots in French Frondes that little boys used to frighten big boys. Cardinal Reds decided to turn this dis- disparaging term into the rebel symbol. The surprising was now known as the Fronde, and the rebels as the and the rebels as founders. Frontiers. They began to wear sashes in their hats that symbolized the slingshot, and the word became their rallying cry. Without it, the rebellion might well have petered out. Always find a symbol to represent your cause. The more emotional associations, the better. The best way to use images and symbols is to organize them into a grand spectacle that awes people and distracts them from unpleasant realities. This is easy to do. People love what is grand, spectacular, and larger than life. Appeal to their emotions and they will flock to your spectacle in hordes. The visual is the easiest to root it to their hearts. Image: the cross and the sun, crucifixion and total radiance. With one imposed over the other, a new reality takes shape, a new power is in the ascendant. The symbol, no explanation necessary. Authority: the people are always impressed by the superficial appearance of things. The prince should, at fitting times of the year, keep the people occupied and distracted with festivities and spectacles. Okay. Law 38. Think as you like but behave like others. Think as you like, okay, but behave like others, okay. So this, okay, let's read. Judgment. If you make a show of going against the times, flaunting your unconventional ideas and unorthodox ways, people will think that you only want attention and that you look down upon them. They will find a way to punish you for making them feel inferior. It is far safer to blend in and nurture the common touch, share your originality only with tolerant friends and those who are sure to appreciate your uniqueness. Okay. Keys to power. We all tell lies and hide our true feelings, for complete free expression is a social impossibility. From an early age, we learn to conceal our thoughts, telling the prickly and insecure what we know they want to hear, watching carefully lest we offend them. For most of us, this is natural. There are ideas and values that most people accept, and it is pointless to argue. We believe what we want to, then, but on the outside we wear a mask. There are people, however, who see such restraints as an intolerable infringement on their freedom and who have a need to prove the superiority of their values and beliefs. In the end, though their arguments convince only a few and often a great deal more. The reason arguments do not work is that most people hold their ideas and values without thinking about them. There is a strong emotional content in their beliefs. They will really do not want to have to rework their habits of thinking. And when you challenge them, whether directly through your arguments or indirectly through your behavior, they are hostile. Wise and clever people learn early on that they can display conventional behavior and mouth conventional ideas without having to believe in them. The power these people gain from blending in this depth of being left alone to have the thoughts they want to have and to express them to the people they want to express them to without suffering isolation or ostracism. Once they have established themselves in a position of power, they can try to convince a wider circle of the correctness of their ideas, perhaps working indirectly. Do not be so foolish as to imagine that in our own time the old orthodoxies are gone. Jonas Salk, or for instance, thought science had gotten past politics and protocol, and so in his search for a polio vaccine, he broke all the rules, going public with a discovery before showing it to the scientific community, taking credit for the vaccine without acknowledging the scientist who had paved the way, making himself a star. The public may have loved him, but scientists shunned him. His disrespect for his community's orthodoxies left him isolated, and the wasted years trying to heal the breach and struggling for funding and cooperation. Okay. Not only do people of power avoid the offense of sack, they also learn to play the clever fox and fee in the common touch. This has been the ploy of con artists and politicians throughout the centuries. Leaders like Julius Caesar and Franklin D. Roosevelt have overcome their natural aristocratic stance to cultivate a familiarity with the common man. They have expressed this familiarity in little gestures, often symbolic, to show the people that their leaders share popular values despite their different status. The logical extension of this practice is the invaluable ability to be all things to all people. When you go into society, leave behind your own ideas and values and put on the mask that is most appropriate for the group in which you find yourself. Bismarck. Bismarck played this game successfully for years. There were people who vaguely understood what he was up to, but not clearly enough that it mattered. People will swallow the bait because it flatters them to believe that you share their ideas. They will not take you as a hypocrite if you are careful. Or for how can they accuse you of hypocrisy if you do not let them know exactly what you stand for? Nor will they see you as lacking in values. Of course, you have values. The values you share with them while in their company. Image the black sheep. The herd slums The herd shuns the black sheep. Black sheep, uncertain whether or not it belongs with them, so it straggles behind or wanders away from the herd where it is cornered by wolves and promptly devoured. Stay with the herd. There is safety in numbers. Keep your differences in your thoughts and not in your flee. Authority. Do not give dogs what is holy, and do not throw your pearls before swine, lest they trample them under foot and turn to attack. Law 39. Stir up waters to catch fish. Okay? Anger and emotion are strategically counterproductive. You must always stay calm and objective, but if you can make your enemies angry while staying calm yourself, you gain a decided advantage. You put your enemies off balance, find the chink in their vanity through which you can rattle them, and you hold the strings. Basically, this is my hand, and I am controlling the conversation with my enemy. Keys to power. Angry people usually end up looking ridiculous for their response seems out of proportion to what occasioned it. They have taken things too seriously, exaggerating the hurt or insult that has been done to them. They are so sensitive, so slight that it becomes comical how much they can take personally. More comical still is their belief that their outbursts signify power. The truth is the opposite. Petulance is not power, it is a sign of helplessness. People may temporarily be cowed by your tantrums, but in the end, they lose respect for you. They also realize they can easily undermine a person who with so little self-control. The answer, however, is not to repress our angry or emotional responses, for repression drains us of energy and pushes us into strange behavior. Instead, we have to change our perspective. We have to realize that nothing in the social realm and in the game of power is personal. Everyone is caught up in a chain of events that long predates the present moment. Our anger often stems from problems in our childhood, from the problems of our parents, which stem from their own childhood, and on and on. Our anger also has roots in the many interactions with others, the accumulated disappointments and heartaches that we have suffered. An individual will often appear as the instigator of our anger, but it is much more complicated, goes far beyond what that individual did to us. If a person explodes with anger at you and it seems out of proportion to what you did to them, you must remind yourself that it is not exclusively directed at you. Do not be so vain. The cause is much larger, goes away back in time, goes way back in time, involves thousands of prior hurts, and is actually not worth the bother to understand. Instead of seeing it as a personal grudge, look at the emotional outburst as a disguised power move, an attempt to control or punish you, cloaked in the form of hurt, feelings, and anger. This shift of perspective will let you play the game of power with more clarity and energy. Instead of overreacting and becoming ensnared in people's emotions, you will turn their loss of control to your advantage. During an important battle in the War of the Three Kingdoms in the 3rd century AD, advisors to the commander Tsao discovered documents showing that certain of his generals had conspired with the enemy and urged him to arrest and execute them. Instead, he ordered the documents burned and matter and the matter forgotten. At this critical moment in the battle, to get upset or demand justice would have reverberated against him. Hmm. An angry action would have called attention to the general's disloyalty, which would have harmed the troops' morale. Justice could wait. He would deal with the generals in time. Tissau kept his head and made the right decision. Anger only cuts off our options, and the powerful cannot thrive without options. Anger only cuts off our options, and the powerful cannot thrive without options. Once you train yourself not to take matters personally and to control your emotional responses, you will have placed yourself in a position of tremendous power. Now you can play with the emotional responses of other people. This is very important. Steer the insecure into action by impugning their manhood and by changing the prospect of an easy victory before their faces. In the face of a hot-headed enemy, finally an excellent response is no response. Nothing is as infuriating as a man who keeps his cool while others are losing theirs. If it will work, if it will work to your advantage to unsettle people, affect the aristocratic board pose, neither mocking nor triumphant, but simply indifferent. This will light their fuse. When they embarrass themselves with a temper tantrum, you will have gained several victories. One of these being that in the face of their childishness, you have maintained your dignity and composure. Image: the pond of fish. The waters are clear and calm, and the fish are well below the surface. Stir the waters, and they emerge. Stir it some more, and they get angry, rising to the surface, biting whatever comes near, including a freshly baited hook. Hmm. Authority. If your opponent is of a hot temper, try to irritate him. If he is arrogant, try to encourage his egotism. If your opponent is of a hot temper, try to irritate him. If he is arrogant, try to encourage his egotism. One who is skilled at making the enemy move does so by creating a situation according to which the enemy will act. He entices the enemy with something he is certain to take. He keeps the enemy on the move by holding out bait and then attacks him with picked troops. Sun Tzu, 4th century BC. Law 40. Despire the free lunch. Judgment. What is offered for free is dangerous. It usually involves either a trick or a hidden obligation. What has worth is worth paying for. By paying your own way, you stay clear of gratitude, guilt, and deceit. It is also often wise to pay the full price. There is no cutting corners with excellence. Be lavish with your money and keep it circulating, for generosity is a sign and a magnet for power. Money and power. In the realm of power, everything must be judged by its cost, and everything has a price. What is offered for free at a bargain rate often comes with a psychological price tag. Complicated feelings of obligation compromises with quality, the insecurity those compromises bring, on and on. The powerful learn early to protect their most valuable resources, independence, and room to maneuver. By paying the full price, they keep themselves free of dangerous entanglements and worries. Being open and flexible with money also teaches the value of strategic generosity, a variation on the old trick of giving when you are about to take. By giving the appropriate gift, you put the recipient under obligation. Generosity softens people up. To be deceived by gaining a reputation for liberality, you win people's admiration while distracting them from your power place. For everyone able to play with money, thousands more are locked in a self destructive refusal to use money creatively and strategically. These types represent the opposite pole to the powerful, and you must learn to recognize them either to avoid their poisonous natures or to turn their flexibility to your advantage. The greedy fish. The greedy fish take the human side out of money. Cold and ruthless, they see only the lifeless balance sheet, viewing others solely as their pawns or obstructions in their pursuit of wealth. They trample on people's sentiments and alienate valuable allies. No one wants to work with the greedy fish, and over the years they end up isolated, which often proves their undoing. They are also easy to deceive. Simply lure them with the bait of easy money, and they will swallow the ruse hook, line and sinker. Either avoid them before they exploit you or play on their greed to your gain. The bargain demon. Powerful people judge everything by what it costs, not just in money but in time, dignity, and peace of mind. And this is exactly what bargain demons cannot do. Wasting valuable time digging for bargains, they worry endlessly about what they could have gotten elsewhere for a little less. On the top of that, the bargain item they do buy is often shabby. Perhaps it needs costly repairs or will have to be replaced twice as fast as a high quality item. These types might seem to harm only themselves, but their attitudes are contagious. The sadist. Financial sadists play vicious power games with money as a way of asserting their power. They might, for example, make you wait for money that is owed you, promising you that the check is in the email. Sadists seem to think that paying for something gives them the right to torture and abuse the seller. They have no sense of the courtier element in the money. If you are unlucky enough to get involved with this type, accepting a financial loss may be a better in the long run than getting entangled in their destructive power games. The indiscriminate giver. Generosity has a definite function in power. It attracts people, softens them up, make allies out of them, but it has to be used strategically with a definite end in mind. Indiscriminate givers, on the other hand, are generous because they want to be loved. Indiscriminate givers, on the other hand, are generous because they want to be loved and admired by all. All their generosity is so discriminated and needy that it may not have the desired effect. If they give to one and all, why should the recipient feel special? Attractive as it may seem to make an indiscriminate giver, you mark, in any involvement with this type, you will often feel burdened by their insatiable emotional needs. Attractive as it may seem to make an indiscriminate giver, you mark, in any involvement with this type, you will often feel burdened by their insatiable emotional needs. Image. The river. To protect yourself or to save the resources, you dam it up. Soon, however, the waters become dank and pestilent. Only the fullest forms of life can live in such stagnant waters. Nothing travels on them. All commerce stops. Destroy the dam. When water flows and circulates, it generates abundance, wealth, and power in ever larger circles. The river must flood, flood periodically for good things to flourish. Authority. The great man who is a miser is a great fool, and a man in high places can have no vice so harmful as avarice. A miserly man can conquer neither land nor lordships, for he does not have a plentiful supply of friends with whom he may work his will. Whoever wants to have friends must not love his possessions, but must acquire friends by means of far but must acquire friends by means of fair gifts. For in the same way that the lodestone subtly draws iron to itself, so the gold and silver that a man gives attract the hearts of men. The romance of the rose Guillaume de Loris. Guillaume de Loris, 1200 to 1238. 1200 to 1238. Law 41. I'll read from. So this is it for this video. There are only 8 laws left, and we will read these 8 laws in the upcoming next video. So till then, have a good day.